I'm building an automation agency from scratch and showing you step by step exactly how I'm doing it. Let's check it out. All right, so this is going to be episode 2, concept to sales. Start your AI automation agency from scratch, zero to hero. This is kind of a different thing that I'm doing here. I'm going to be building an automation or several automations from concept and eventually selling them to a real client, real customer, and making some money. So this is a full step-by-step walkthrough, minimal editing on these videos. I'm just going to give you guys the semi-raw footage. I'm just automatically editing out any blank space, any silence in my videos. That way it's not just me brainstorming and thinking and fumbling around too much. But these videos are just going to be the raw experience of me building this thing. So last video we left off, we created this full build guide to get started, and I got the N8N project started, right? Nothing is in here yet. So just taking a look at the build guide. This is what came out, just long conversations with ChatGPT to get this build guide to come out. And we've got basic setup here. So I'm going to set up Airtable as a CRM. Got some options for scraping. I think Apify. I'm going to try and find some other tools first, but I think Apify is going to be the way to go, especially for real estate. So I'm just going to work through this and get things set up so we can jump into Airtable. We can probably do this in Google Sheets. If you're following along and want to use Google Sheets, it's very simple. You can set up your headers with this information right here, but I use Airtable. Definitely recommend Airtable as an automation tool, not just a spreadsheet. Airtable alongside N8N is going to be way more powerful than using Google Sheets, and you can use Airtable for free until you start running the automations. So if you want to use Airtable as a more advanced spreadsheet or database, in this case, we can store all this information. Definitely jump on Airtable. I'll put the link in the description. I also have the link to N8N down there if you want to check out N8N. You're following along. So let's get into it. I'm going to open up Airtable. So let's just start off with a new base. Start from scratch. I haven't tried this yet. This is the new Airtable AI bot over here, Omni. I've used a little bit of the AI stuff in Airtable, but ultimately I end up just building my own stuff. Anyway, I'm not trying to make it too advanced systems with the bot yet, but let me know what you guys think about it if you've used the AI. So I'm just going to close this down, get rid of my default fields. Anybody watching my previous videos, this is how I do everything. Start off with just getting rid of the default fields, cleaning it up. Just gonna rename everything. Let's set this to same name we have got going on for this project. This is concept to sales, start an automation agency. Cool, table 1, this can be my leads. Grid view, let's set this to all data. I always put an all data view just to keep things organized. Jump back into the canvas, let's see what we need. Just the basic stuff, address, phone, website, email, the source, status, date, and some notes. I don't think I'll add that. Cool, so I'm gonna click the plus here to create some new fields. Let's start with email, URL, phone number. You can do first name, last name, or just name. Address, single line text. Just click in the plus to create a bunch of fields. Let's create a created time field. We'll add a single select for status, source, and that's good to start. So URL, I'll rename this field website. Cool, name, email, phone number, website, address, created time, status. Let's add another field here. This will be, I always add this just for creating automations. It's much easier to add a record ID field. The formula, you just type in REC to get this built-in formula to enter in the record ID. This is the Airtable record ID for this record. Cool, so that looks great, good enough for now. Let's move on. We can set up the Airtable access, personal access token too. So N8N credentials, we need our Airtable access, set that up, and we can get building starting with Apify. I'm gonna try and find something else other than Apify to begin. We might need to use it for specific things like Zillow for doing the real estate thing, but for me, we left off last video just building an automation for me personally to use to gather my leads that I can start selling to. So essentially, I'm going to build a system for myself to find my clients and then sell that exact system back to them, which is step one of phase one of what we're doing here. So I think we can jump into N8N, get that stuff started. This is pretty straightforward. Now I'm going to put these build guides up in my school community. You can check this stuff out. If you're following along and need any help, you can jump over there, grab these build guides. And what I do, if I'm building anything out for myself, I create build guides to walk myself through stuff. If anything is confusing, you can just copy and paste that back into ChatGPT and say, I don't understand this. And you're going to have a full build out of every particular section, every node that you need filled out. So you can very easily walk yourself through any setup just by building yourself a build guide. If nothing else, your build guide becomes an excellent starting prompt for ChatGPT. You can create a new conversation with ChatGPT, paste in your build guide, and get started right away. That's actually what I did at the beginning of this session, just to come back to where I was yesterday filming the first part of this video, or I should say episode 1. Cool. Let's just start. So not knowing how I want this to trigger, I'm going to start with a manual trigger back in N8N. So I'm going to add a few things here. I think I'll start off with, actually, let's jump back over here and see if we can find a different solution other than Appify. I know there's a few tools out there. I use Firecrawl, stuff like that. I'm gonna start a new chat. Trying to scrape local businesses from the Google Maps API. Are there other tools I can use for this, like Firecrawl, Appify, etc.? By the way, every response I get back, I'm using just ChatGPT 4.0 for this, but I'm able to reason through stuff very basically here because I've set my settings. If I come up to customize ChatGPT, I have a very basic trait set in here. Reason through everything, don't use emojis, never use emojis. And that tells ChatGPT how I want responses to come back. So it's going to reason through things very simply first, even though I'm on ChatGPT 4.0. So Google Places, I don't think I want to use that. Appify, I want to find anything other than that first. But I think those are the tools we're going to be stuck with. I'll just say, are there any more that can do this? Perhaps open source. Yeah, so just getting a breakdown of some tools. API, Firecrawl, I think for now, I'll just start with SERP API. I've used that one plenty for these basic local scraping searches on Google Maps. Very easy to use, so let's just jump on that one and build it in here. So I'll just add an HTTP node. We'll jump right into the scraper. Now we could add an agent here. In fact, I wonder if a method to do this, if we add the OpenAI node. So this is regular OpenAI node, right? We can add any of these operations in here, analyze an image, generate an image. Basic one is message a model. So this is just sending a prompt over to OpenAI and we'll get an AI generated output, right? So we can probably use this as a first step because we can actually use tools. This OpenAI node is actually an agent of sorts. We can't use any contextual memory here, but the node itself is actually an agent that can use tools. So if we look up some tools, we have a SERP API tool for Google search. We can add that in there very basically, but I think for scraping, I'm going to use the actual SERP API Google Maps endpoint. So we'll leave this in here for now, just deactivate it. And let's add a set node here. Set node, I always preach using the set node, overusing the set node. So this can be a query, right? This will set our query information. And I'll just hard code a query in here for now. So something you want to ask, something you want an AI to look up, filter, and then send over to the API so we can look up local businesses. So I want this to say something like, and in fact, I'm going to jump back into my N8N project folder here. I think I already have this one, Google Maps scraper. I built this exact scraper I'm rebuilding right now. I built it out already. So probably just grab some of this stuff. Always refactor your code, so to speak. Always repurpose your nodes you've already built. So yeah, same thing. I'm already brainstorming. I've already got that built in here. That's excellent. So cool. I'm just going to grab this, pop it in. I have this one up in the school community as well. You can check that out over there, but I'm probably going to get in here and just redo everything. So if you're following along from scratch, you'll be able to build it out as I do here. So no worries if you don't have access to my school community. All right, so I'm going to pick and pull stuff from here. Coming through with a manual trigger, that's good for now, but we can do some kind of submission. Don't think I want the N8N form submission, but I'll have some kind of submission come through, hit the SERP API node, split out the results, get the details. Don't even know what this node is doing here. What did I say? You're a lead enrichment assistant, owner specific contact information. Okay, that's an interesting step, but don't think I'm gonna need that so much. But all the enrichment, this is all for qualifying the leads. Not sure how I want to tackle that for myself. For a build out for a client, that would have to be something, this step would be something to build in, but for myself, let's just see. Cool, again, live build, guys, raw, unedited footage, talking aloud through my process. You guys get to hear all my ramblings. So basically we just need this node. We'll just duplicate it, but you guys can follow along. I'll jump into it here. So we need SERP API. That's API key right there, but this is going to be the endpoint, and I'll go get my new API key. I probably have a new one in there by now. Search query. It looks like I have a search query set up in a form over here, just dissecting what I have, but I'm going to put the search query for now hard coded in here. Cool. Let's go check out SERP API, and then I'll show you exactly what's going on in this HTTP request node. I'll just rename this. All right, in my SERP API account, here's my API key. I'll just set this one up as a temporary key for now. We have all of these endpoints we can use, which is why I love SERP API. Just looking up Google stuff is way easier than trying to set up Appify actors, I think. Appify, I try and avoid, I haven't used it enough to really be comfortable with it, and to me, there are better ways to do something than starting off with Appify. So this is what we need over here. We're going to search first Google Maps. So we need the Maps API. So in case you're wondering how to build all this stuff out, anytime you're building out HTTP nodes, you have to look at the docs. If you need something to be filled in, you have to look at the documentation on how to fill that in. There's no way around it. So it's all going to be some kind of learning curve, something to figure out, but you're going to come into the curl settings. These are all the code settings you can use to use this endpoint in different ways, but we need the curl for the HTTP request node in N8N. So we're going to grab this endpoint right here. Let's jump back into the workflow, and that's what we have right here. Now we need a couple parameters here. So we're going to use the question mark to set up a parameter. Question mark engine equals Google Maps API and key. So we're just putting everything in the endpoint, everything that is right here. So engine equals Google Maps, the query, this is the longitude, latitude, the coordinates, and the API key. So I'm going to go ahead and build all this stuff in there. I've got the question mark engine equals Google Maps right here, and API key equals, let's go get my API key in a second. We also have the query, but it looks like I set up the query down here. So that's something else we can do. Again, just rambling through this stuff. This is actually how I work by myself, talking aloud to myself to get through some of the stuff I'm not sure about. So we can set up this query down here. I just clicked on add new query. I'll set up engine equals, grab this, Google Maps. Maybe don't need the equal sign there. Cool, next query. We've got the actual query. Next parameter we can add in here is going to be API key. API key, and I'll grab API key right there. Cool. So I think that works. Let's check the method here. So it's a get method, and we have the method set to get. So that should work. Let's give it a shot. Let's put in a query here. Look up real estate businesses and brokers in Scottsdale, AZ. Or even better, let's just leave it at that for now. We'll narrow it down. So let's execute this step just to run the workflow up to this point. We've got manual trigger passing through this deactivated OpenAI node into the hard-coded query here. Again, I'll add some kind of form submission or something to get that in there. Now we can dynamically add the query right here in the queue parameter. Execute that. Let's see if we set everything up right. There we go. We've got local results. This is the array we want from SERP API. Scottsdale real estate agency, cool. Arizona home group, awesome. So that is working just fine. Now, following my previous example, we can split out each of these and just enter them straight into Airtable. We don't need to process any of this stuff quite yet. So I'm going to add the split out node. I'll just duplicate this one since it's right there. You can type in split out to search for the split out node, but the split out node is going to need an array. It's just the way the split out node and the aggregate node work. They work with arrays. So we need to add the array for local results as a fixed value in here. In fact, I can just type in local results and it's going to come out with the same thing because it's looking for an array and it's going to use that array name, local results. So if I execute this, we'll see how many we got. We got 20 items coming through, 20 businesses coming through, and we can insert those directly into Airtable. I think I'll add a filter here just to make sure these are legit businesses. I have a filter node down here. I'll just duplicate that one. No, that one's probably wrong. Let me just add a new filter. Pretty easy to do a filter. So filter, I want to filter by ratings, right? Just to make sure this is a legit business, we'll add the rating in here and we'll say rating is greater than 3 or something like that. Now, something you have to pay attention to with the data types. This is a number. We have to use an actual number data type in here for that comparison. So if rating is greater than 3.5, I don't know what a good rating is for a real estate agent. And we got all of them back. Great. So good reviews for these people. Let's up that to 4, see if any drop off. Nope, still good. All right, cool. Now the next step would be to qualify the lead, just verifying the business, verifying email addresses, all that stuff. I have another step in here. I think this is just getting all the relevant information. It's going to read that and get email addresses, business related stuff, everything, just pulling everything out of there. Not sure if I need that step right now, just in this concepting phase, this brainstorming phase. So let's take a look at the actual results coming through. Can jump back into this node. So it looks like we have a website, a phone number, address. Don't see an email. So that means they don't have any email listed on the Google Maps website for this one. Yeah, cool. So no emails here. Let's probably try and process that further to get those emails. So just scanning the website. Yeah, I think we can use that OpenAI agent over here. Set it up at the beginning here, but in my previous build out, I have it in this step right here. So let's actually do that same thing. So I'm going to add that agent. In fact, I'll just duplicate this OpenAI agent right here. Probably get rid of this one. And let's take a look at this prompt. So you are a lead assistant. Your task is to extract owner-specific contact information, input the business name, the GPS coordinates. Cool, that's great. Include the owner's name, match the business domain. Yeah, so this, I wrote this out to find emails and the owner information. Cool, so that's pretty good. I have all of these prompts like this that I built out in previous automation templates for download. All this stuff is in the school community. You can copy and paste templates from over there. Cool, save it. Let's try and run this. I'm not sure what's going to happen. So the way I set up this node, I have my credentials set up in here in case you ever need to set up any credentials. How I learned is just when you come here, you click on create new credential, open the docs, and N8N has very amazing docs to set up any credential you need with any of your services. So that's how I figured all this stuff out. Basically copying this and pasting it into ChatGPT and say, walk me through this. How do I set up my OpenAI credential? So I've got my credential. I'm using the model. This is my prompt. Simplifying the output, and I'm outputting the content as JSON. So I want to see nice organized JSON come out of this node in the output. For that to actually happen, we have to specify the JSON structure we want in the prompt itself. So in my prompt, I'm saying output JSON. Here's the JSON structure that I want. Owner name is this, business name is this, whatever these values end up being. Source links, source URLs, all that stuff will get output in that format when we output as JSON. But yeah, let's give it a test. I'm going to relink some of this stuff. Business name is coming from a filter node. Let's add a step node in here. Step node, a set node, an edit fields node. So I have business data like that. I think we'll do that same thing. After the filter, before the OpenAI node, let's add an edit fields node. This will be his info. So we'll get everything here that we need. title. This is business name. Now I've changed my naming conventions for all of my variables in N8N, something like this. This is the structure, or this ends up being the structure that is used in Supabase. So if you're storing things in Supabase and creating your tables and using SQL to build stuff out, just naming your stuff this way, generally you'll have an easier time loading everything up automatically into Supabase. All right, GPS coordinates. Let's get that object. We could probably get rating, pull that over. We want the business address, business phone number. I'll rename this business phone. Website, pull that over. Anything else we need here? It's probably good. Execute that step. Now we've got just the relevant information coming across that we can load into OpenAI. Pop open my prompt here. So the business name, we'll drop that back down. GPS coordinates, got that already linked up. We can also add the website here. That'd be perhaps an interesting input. I'm not sure if that's relevant, but we'll add it in as an input. There we go. Execute that step. So this will hopefully get owner info, but we got an error in SERP API tool. I need to reset up my API key here, I think. Let's see. Got a new temporary API key, so I'll just pop that back in, edit this credential, and paste my API key right there. Cool, let's run it again. Now the reason I have the SERP tool here is it's actually doing another Google search. The OpenAI node is using the SERP tool to do another Google search on these business names according to the coordinates and the website we just put in there. So it's going to look up the business and try and find any more information. That's why I said this OpenAI node is actually an agent. It can do these tasks. You can add tools to your OpenAI. So it looks like it's going through each one. That's good. Probably should have added a limiter here for testing. Let's go ahead and do that just in case. We'll add the limit to limit the number coming through. That way we're only testing with one instead of running all of them. But I want to see what it says. I want to see what happens for all of these. So not sure what's going on. Still running. Should only have 20 items going through, but now we're at 30. Might be stuck in a weird loop. So let's just stop it and see what we get. Yeah, all right. Nothing. Let's run it through the limiter. Try it again with just one. It's showing we got 20 items through, but oh, there we go. Yeah, just a minute. So weird glitch that happens sometimes. It'll get stuck in a visual running glitch when it's actually finished. Happens a couple times for me. So let's look at the data coming through now. So we have more information about Scottsdale real estate. No email. There's the phone number. No social links. For the next one, John A. Osato for Arizona Home Group. No information for John there. We can probably run this again and look all this stuff up one more time. That glitch might have thrown things off, but we're trying to get the actual owner information, right? It's looking up the business that we scraped from Google Maps and then finding the real people I can contact. So there's a phone number. This is a different phone number most likely than the actual business phone number, or maybe it's the same, right? Maybe if it's a, I don't know, husband and wife team, those Callaway's real estate agents, right? Maybe it's the same number. Cool. So it looks like we got some glitching. I'm just going to save my workflow, refresh the canvas. So I'm going to run the limiter now, just get one through. We can test this again. There he is. And we can move on to input this into Airtable or do some more filtering. So we can have a couple branches here. I think I just want to load everything in and just see what we have back in Airtable, but we can add some routing. Find the if node. If email, we'll say string exists, we'll go up one route. If the email doesn't exist, we'll come down another route, stuff like that. We can process them further, set up automations for storing phone numbers. But I think for now, I just want to get everything into Airtable just to round off this preliminary build, this first business scraper. So let's add an Airtable. Airtable, going to create a record, set up my credential. Now this we haven't done yet for this new base that I created. Concept to sales, start an automation agency base. I'm gonna get into my account settings. Come down here, click on Builder Hub, open that in a new tab. Come into personal access tokens. I have a bunch of access tokens, but I want to probably put this one on my permanent testing or something like that. I definitely can delete some of these. Don't even know where they belong. Maybe I'll just put it on my permanent token if I'm going to be using this tool, or I can create a new one. Let's just do that just to keep everything separated. Now we got to add scopes. The scopes you can find in N8N. If you create a new credential, these are the scopes right here. We need data.recordsRead, data.recordsWrite, and base.schema, a bases read. Now I can add a base, find my new base, got a ton. There it is, concept to sales, create the token, copy that token, come into my base. Now what I've been doing for all of my projects, all of my bases where I have to organize stuff, I'm gonna create a new table, API keys, save the table, delete the default fields, say Airtable, make all these temporary. I'm gonna delete all these API keys afterwards, temp. We also have temp serp API. Let's add a long text field, call it API keys, and store all my API keys in here. It's Airtable, there's serp. That way everything stays in one place, and you can even make references to this Airtable base without having to hard code your API keys in here. That's something we can get into later on if you want. So we're gonna create a record. We still need to add this new credential. So I'll create the new credential here, just keeping my naming conventions all the same so I remember what's what. Let's paste in that access token. Might be the wrong one actually. That's probably the serp access token. Come back. There we go. Now we can find the new Airtable base right there. Choose the table. This will be the leads table, and we can pop everything in here. Cool. So I think I'll add another step. Let's add a set node. We need to fix up the data so it can go straight into Airtable, or we can load it straight into Airtable. But I think for now, just because I have this placeholder if node, we're going to run the true node, the true route, and the false route in here for now until we actually have something to qualify there. I'll test that route, test that node. You know what? Let's just delete this for now. This might just throw a weird hiccup into it. So we'll leave the if node out for now, get everything into Airtable just to round off this video. So we're going to get owner name. Again, just naming everything with this sort of naming convention. That way it'll plug into Supabase much easier. I'm just in the habit of doing that. Business name, can get the email, any social links we want for John. I'll leave that out for now. We have the source URL. Great, that's all coming from the OpenAI node. So we can look back into the biz info node here, can get the rating if we want to load that into Airtable, address, business phone, and website. Website, that might be the source. So I'll remove that one. Okay, run that step. It's getting everything to look nice to plug straight into Airtable. Now we can go do that same thing and pull everything over. I don't have an owner name field in Airtable though. Let's add that in there real quick. So this will be the business name here. Business name, let's add another single line text field, owner name. Cool. Refresh this. So we'll pull that new owner name field across. So we get owner name, business name, email, business phone, address, website, and source. We can probably peel off the source and just leave the website and status. I'm not sure what to add as the status yet. Jump back into Airtable. Let's peel off the source and run it. Cool. In fact, let's just set the status here. Come back into Airtable, add some status options. First one will be new. I always like a new status that's highlighted in this bright color so I can see new stuff pop up easily. So we'll set the status to new. In fact, we can get rid of it there, and in Airtable, set the default status to new. That way, any new record is going to pop up as new. Cool, but anyway, there it is, our new record. Got the business name, owner name, email, phone number, address, website, status set, date and time created, and the record ID for later automation. That looks great. There's my first lead. Let's go ahead and run this entire thing. In fact, we can set up some extra steps in here. I think I want to save that for another video, tuning that stuff up. Everything is running fine. So what I'm going to do just to test this is delete everything, come back. I'm going to disable the limiter so we can get everything to come through, save the workflow, and run it. Cool. So this is going to take couple minutes to run with 20 items. While this is running, you can add some other stuff in here. I want to add some kind of entry form, maybe back in Airtable or on my phone. I could speak into Telegram or something like that. Look up this and in this area, and it'll just run that from an audio message in Telegram, something like that. For now, I'm going to leave it as a trigger, but I want to search my Airtable records first. Let's do it right here. Add in a new Airtable record. This will search records to make sure we're not scraping records that we already have, scraping businesses we already have. Search records, add my credential, choose the base, choose the table, and we'll search by a formula. Now, for the formula, what I want to do, let's come into the status field. Let's create a new option and say, I don't know, scraped or something like that. Scraped or done or entered or even new, we can use that as a status. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure how I actually want to put this in here, because essentially if they're in the database, they've been scraped. So we don't need to check the database to be scraped again. So I suppose we can reach all the records. Once all the records come back, we can filter them, and we'll filter it where the business name is not equal to the business name. That way, yeah, so maybe leave that out for now. We'll do all that fine tuning later on. Definitely something to do before selling this automation, but we're still getting those search results coming back. In this step down here in my previous build, after the OpenAI node, I have this step to qualify the leads with hunter.io. So it's just checking the emails that are coming through to make sure they're valid emails. That can be a step to add in here later on. But for myself, I'll just get all the leads into Airtable, making sure that my scraper is actually working, and get a base for my leads. There we go, finished. Let's jump into Airtable. See all those records pop in here, all brand new. We've got all the owner names, looks like no owner right here. A couple emails, that is awesome. All the phone numbers, addresses, websites, looks like no website right here. That is great. 20 real estate agents to reach out to in Scottsdale. Great. So I'm going to leave it here for now for this video, this episode. Pretty good place to leave off. We've got our scraper working. We've got the beginnings of a CRM going. Everything is running excellently, and we can continue to build upon the automation to filter and qualify and enrich the leads coming into Airtable. So really great start. Great job following along with this, guys. I'm going to continue this sort of mini series, building from scratch, concept to sales, zero to hero, build your AI automation agency. So we'll continue on next time, keeping the concept going, keeping the build out going. Right now I'm building this automation for myself to find my own leads that I can sell to. And essentially I can sell this automation that I used to find them back to them to see if they want to go with something like that. Now, for real estate agents, this probably won't work too well. For coaches, this probably won't work too well, but we can modify this specific to the niche and the business that I'm selling to. But for now, I'm going to find myself a bunch of leads using this tool. Awesome. Guys, I have the link to my school community in the description of this video. I have all the prompts. I'll put all of these workflows up for download. If you want to skip the step-by-step build out, everything will be up there to download. Once it's finished, you can just grab it and start using it. Definitely recommend you join the school community right now. We got people in there working on this kind of stuff. You can ask questions and use the community to your advantage to build your own workflows. So I look forward to seeing you in the group, and I'll see you in the next video.